Huge news for the BlackRock Spot Bitcoin ETF. I am flabbergasted that more people aren't talking about this. In the final hours, your biggest enemies reveal themselves. We were right the entire time. It is amazing that we have access to this information. The general public has no idea what is about to happen. Not that they couldn't know, they just don't know. They don't know they should be looking. BlackRock and 11 plus others are days away from getting approval from the SEC for their spot Bitcoin ETF. Gary Gensler and the SEC just keep losing. You know about the SEC's major setback with Binance back in June. You know about the SEC's two major losses with Ripple in July and October. You of course know about the SEC's landmark loss against Grayscale, making all of these spot ETFs possible. Well, another major L for Gary Gensler just happened. The SEC deeply regrets their misleading statements and other errors in the crypto case. The crypto company in question, called Digital Licensing Inc. or DebtBox. So what happened? The SEC's attorney apologized to a judge on Thursday for misrepresenting facts used to secure a restraining order and asset freeze against the crypto firm. The SEC basically lied, made stuff up, carried out actions against this company, and the judge basically just made them apologize, and now there'll be repercussions on the SEC. Another L for Gary. Another one. Huge news for the BlackRock Spot Bitcoin ETF. I am flabbergasted that more people aren't talking about this. BlackRock just dropped its updated S1, and it does name the APs. It does name the authorized participants, Jane Street and JPMorgan. Kind of ironic, kind of iconic. Looks like we have our first horse at the starting gate. In the final hours, your biggest enemies reveal themselves. We were right the entire time. So just to be clear, the AP names were not due in the S1s. So BlackRock adding them in there, bit of a flex in that regard. So if we see other S1s not naming APs, doesn't mean that they don't have ones lined up. But this does make BlackRock the first horse officially ready. So obviously, it's looking more and more like the 11 plus spot Bitcoin ETFs is a done deal. You'd basically need the highest rungs of the government to step in and stop these things from being approved. So basically, we're talking about Joe Biden or somebody pretty high up there, like Joe Biden. Would Joe Biden stop the ETFs from happening? Does he even know about it? I don't think he would if he knew about it. Plus, it's an election year, guys. It's an election year. Keep that in mind. Very positive. Again, I want to point this out to you. This is a classic example of watch what they do, not what they say. It was not but 3 weeks ago that JPMorgan's CEO, Jamie Dimon, made the remarks, "If I were the government, I'd shut it down."
He pointed out the only true use case for it is criminals, drug traffickers, anti-money laundering, tax avoidance. If I was the government, I'd close it down.
Now he wants a piece of it. He wants a piece of that digital gold. So all the biggest players are in now. Again, more evidence. The approval is days away. In the final hours, your biggest enemies reveal themselves. We were right the entire time. And just so you understand JPMorgan's role as APs with BlackRock, this will be their role. APs play a critical role in the functioning of ETFs. They are responsible for creating and redeeming ETF shares. They help maintain the liquidity and proper functioning of the ETFs by facilitating the process of creating and redeeming shares in response to demand, especially important for a product like a Bitcoin ETF, where the underlying asset is not a traditional security. APs would likely be responsible for managing the creation and redemption of shares in exchange for cash or Bitcoin, helping to align the ETF's market price with the net asset value of its underlying asset. The deadline for all of these amendments is today. That's why we're seeing all of this happen. We love a good last-minute dash. And we are seeing all of these applications get refiled and updated. Valkyrie just refiled their spot Bitcoin ETF. VanEck just submitted their update for their spot Bitcoin ETF. In addition, they also dropped a new commercial. Honey, the new Bitcoin ETF ad just dropped. Tell me what you think.
You know, it's amazing to me the tremendous impact that the home computers have had on everyone, and yet it seems that people I've talked to say that it takes you longer to do something by putting it into a computer and calling it up again than if you just kept simple records yourself in the house.
Coinbase just replaced its head of custody. You recall that Coinbase is doing the Bitcoin custody for BlackRock and over half of the spot ETF applicants. Coinbase replaces its head of custody as the company gears up to provide services for the spot Bitcoin ETFs. Goldman Sachs even changing their tune. Spot Bitcoin ETF approval will bring more institutional investors into crypto, says Goldman Sachs exec. I am hugely bullish on the future of this whole industry, and this cycle specifically, hugely bullish because of the halving, because of BlackRock, because of the ETFs. Understand this, BlackRock is not our savior. They will tell you to buy as they click sell, and that's okay. Know the beast, understand the game, keep buying dips, and have a 10-year time horizon. What do you think about this? To me, this means that when Bitcoin's 150K or whatever the number is, BlackRock, that's when they're really going to ramp up, going on TV saying how Bitcoin's going to take the market cap of gold at 500K, and that's when they'll begin selling. Not that I don't think Bitcoin can get to 500K. Talking about just being near the top in general, they're going to click sell, and that's okay. Know the beast, understand the game. But of course, we have the Ethereum spot ETF coming up. This is going to be huge. Purely narratively wise, this cycle, this is going to be a huge narrative for Ethereum. And then when it actually happens, it's going to be huge for Ethereum too. But what happens after Bitcoin? What happens after Ethereum? What happens after the Solana ETF? I think a Solana ETF is coming. At least I think in the next 2 years, we're going to be hearing a lot of people talking about how they think a Solana ETF is coming. And it just might be. I think it's very possible. Then after that, BlackRock Spot Chainlink ETF? Why not? Is there any reason why Chainlink wouldn't be next? So, do you have one Bitcoin? If you have one Bitcoin, you are well ahead of the curve if you see how Bitcoin distribution is. Hell, even if you just have fractions of a Bitcoin, you're doing very well, way ahead of the curve. And it's really more about timing, right? It's really more about timing. And it is time. 2012, 2016, 2020, now? So many of my friends who were waiting for Bitcoin to go lower at 32K are now buying Bitcoin at 43K. Interesting to see human/market psychology play out in real life. Are you seeing this? Do you have any experiences like this? What happens when Bitcoin starts consolidating near all-time highs? What happens when Bitcoin breaks new all-time highs? 2024 is going to be great. Subscribe to the channel, join Altcoin Daily. We put out one video every day, keeping you informed. If you're interested in making money in cryptocurrency, subscribe.